Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another modern gameplay video. Today we're taking a look at an Arclight Phoenix deck combined with Hollow One. Arclight Phoenix, the new addition from Guilds of Ravnica, 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer with haste, but we're not going to be hardcasting the Phoenix a whole lot. Instead, at the beginning of combat on our turn, if we've cast 3 or more instants or sorceries, we get to return the Phoenix from our graveyard to the battlefield, so we can cheat it into play for free. And the other main threat in the deck is going to be Hollow One, 5 mana for a 4/4 golem, but Hollow One costs 2 generic mana less to cast for each card we've cycled or discarded this turn, and we can also cycle Hollow One itself for 2 mana, even though that doesn't happen a whole lot. So these are the main win conditions in the deck, and they play pretty well with each other since they both care about discarding cards. On the one hand, you want to be discarding the Phoenix from your hand, so you can get it back from the graveyard for free, and on the other hand, you want to be discarding and cycling cards from your hand, so you can cast a Hollow One for free. So they both play pretty well with all the discard cards we have in our deck. So let's take a look at our entire deck list, starting out with our burn spells, which complement our aggressive plan of cheating Hollow Ones and Phoenix into play. We've got the full 4 copies of Lightning Bolt as a cheap removal spell that can also go upstairs. We've got 3 copies of Fairy Temper, which is usually a 3 mana Lightning Bolt, so much more expensive, but it also has Madness for a single red, which means that if we were to discard Fairy Temper from our hand, instead we can exile it and then cast it for its Madness cost. So that's kind of getting card advantage in a way, since if we were to discard a card from our hand, we would normally lose it, but if we discard a Madness card and we can still pay its Madness cost, then it's kind of like being up a card, and of course we get the full effect from a Lightning Bolt essentially for a single red mana, which is quite efficient. And then we also have 3 copies of Gutshot, which has the Phyrexian mana in its mana cost, so we can either pay a single red or 2 life to cast Gutshot to deal 1 damage to any target. So Gutshot is a card we can cast without having to spend any mana to help us trigger the Arclight Phoenix from the graveyard, which is why it's included here. Then moving on to the next category are the discard effects. We've got the full 4 copies of Faithless Looting, which lets us draw 2 and discard 2, also has Flashback for 2 and a red, and we also have the full 4 copies of Burning Inquiry and Goblin Lore as seen in the classic Hollow One builds. So Burning Inquiry lets every player draw 3 cards and then discard 3 cards at random. So it's card disadvantage for us, it's card neutral for the opponent, but it could potentially mess with the opponent's hand. And then we also have the 4 copies of Goblin Lore, which is 2 mana to draw 4 and then discard 3 cards at random. So this one is not card disadvantage, but it is 1 mana more expensive. And of course, all these discard effects are great at helping us set up Hollow One and Arclight Phoenix. On the one hand, we get to cast Hollow Ones for free potentially, and on the other hand, we might be discarding an Arclight Phoenix to the random discard effects or to the looting, so we can get it back from the graveyard for free. And then we also have Flameblade Adept, which synergizes quite nicely with all the discard effects as a 1 mana 1/2 with Menace, and whenever we cycle or discard a card, the Adept gets +1/+0 until end of turn, so can potentially get in for a ton of damage if we combine it with cards like Looting, Burning Inquiry or Goblin Lore. And then last but not least, we've got 4 copies of Street Wraith, which we're only going to cycle by paying 2 life, so it helps us cast our Hollow Ones on the cheap, and it also triggers Flameblade Adept. And then our last card is Manamorphose, 1 and a red essentially in this deck, for an instant that lets us add 2 mana in any combination of colors to our mana pool, and then lets us draw a card. So it's essentially a free spell we can cast to help us trigger Arclight Phoenix, since if we, for example, cast a Manamorphose with a Phoenix in the graveyard, and then follow it up with 2 more red spells that cost a single red mana, we will be able to get back the Phoenix from our graveyard on turn 2 potentially. So that's why the Manamorphose is such an important piece of the puzzle as well. And then our mana base is very straightforward, just 18 basic mountains. And then going over the sideboard, we've got 4 copies of Surgical Extraction as graveyard hate, 3 Abrades to deal with artifacts and small creatures, 3 Dragon's Claws against the burn decks to gain a ton of life, 2 Coastal X Returns as sweeper effects, and 3 Blood Moons to hate on the non-basic lands. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the draw. And yeah, this hand seems okay. We've got Inquiry to potentially let us cast turn 1 Hollow One, if we get lucky. Opponent on turn 1 Swiftspear, so it could be a burn deck. Drew a mountain. So yeah, we could play it quote-unquote safe by waiting a turn so we can looting and make sure we can cast Hollow One for 1 mana next turn. But against burn, it's all about speed, so I think we just have to risk it here. Burning Inquiry. And see what happens. Alright, so did not discard our Hollow One luckily, so we get to play it for free. And then next turn we can go Looting plus Fiery Temper with Madness, which is pretty nice. Also have a Gutshot at the ready, which isn't great against a burn deck usually. Opponent discarded 2 Swift Spears and a Lightning Bolt. So hopefully they drew into a bunch of lands and are now light on action. Sacred Foundry, so they're on the red-white burn version. And it's going to be a Searing Blaze to just deal 3 damage to us essentially, and then they can attack with a Swift Spear since we're not going to block. Fair enough. Untap, another Gutshot. Let's play our land, looting. Finding an Arclight Phoenix would be nice here since we would be able to get it back. Oof, instead we drew a Hollow One. So it is tempting to just discard Fiery Temper for Madness so we can kill Swift Spear, but it's probably just better to cast a Hollow One for 1 mana here. So I think the Gutshots can probably go, since they're pretty low impact. So we'll attack for 4. And then play another 1 mana Hollow One. Say go. And then next turn we can Manamorphose first to give us a better chance of drawing into an Arclight Phoenix, which we can then discard to the looting, which then lets us also cast a Fiery Temper, so we can potentially get back the Phoenix. Opponent with an Eidolon of the Great Revel makes that plan quite a bit worse, since we would be casting 3 cards that triggered Eidolon, could just attack for 8, and then just hope to outrace the burn player. So yeah, let's just get in for 8 and hope they don't have a bunch of 1 mana burn spells in hand. We could have potentially split the difference, attack with 1 Hollow One, keep the other one back. Opponent values their Eidolon, takes 4 down to 9, jumping with the Swift Spear. So I don't think we do anything here, don't really want to take a bunch of damage from the Eidolon. Could potentially play the Adapt, which does threaten to deal a lot of damage, but it also dies to pretty much any burn spell. So I don't know if that's a great plan. So yeah, either we play Adapt or we do nothing. I think we do nothing. And then just hope to get rid of the Eidolon if they block with it maybe, and otherwise just try and beat them down with our Hollow Ones before they burn us out. Alright, Street Wraith to draw, which is not great against the burn deck. So yeah, let's just attack. Our opponent might block with Eidolon and then finish off one of our Hollow Ones after damage, but then at least that unlocks our hand again. And our opponent is going to chump, so this way they don't take damage from their own Eidolon, so I don't mind just playing the Adapt for now. And then next turn going looting plus Fiery Temper to also trigger the Adapt. So they're gonna Helix the Hollow One, that's fine. Say go. Because doing it this way we also have a better chance of getting back on Arclight Phoenix. It's gonna be a Swift Spear. And a Grim Lavamancer. And that's it, alright. Seems fine to me. So let's untap. Gutshot is actually pretty relevant, so let's lead with Manamorphose, make double red. Find another Adapt, so we can looting, discarding Fiery Temper, and I guess an Adapt. And then cast this with Madness, and I guess we can just kill the Swift Spear, since that way we can get in with a Hollow One, which is guaranteed for damage. Trigger the Adapt a bunch of times. Gutshot the Grim Lavamancer, paying 2 life. And then still cycle Street Wraith to get in the 1 extra point with the Flameblade Adapt. And attack for 8. Alright, sweet. So, managed to outrace the burn deck here. So on to sideboarding, where we want to bring in our 3 Dragon's Claws. And I think that's it. I probably just want to shave some number of Street Wraiths. I think Gutshot still is pretty relevant. It can kill a Grim Lavamancer, can help us trigger the Arclight Phoenix, and we can potentially cast it for a single red mana, which also triggers Dragon's Claw. Street Wraith, on the other hand, only helps with Hollow One and our Flameblade Adapt, but it costs us 2 life every time, which is a bit sketchy. So I think we try this. Could even cut 1 more Street Wraith to make room for an Abrade, potentially. Might be better. Don't think Coast LLC return is good enough. Seems a bit slow, especially on the draw. And we have an opening hand with a Dragon's Claw, which is probably worth keeping despite not having any threats. Could potentially draw into one with looting or the Goblin Lore. And we've got a Bolt to kill an early creature, so a bit of a slower, more controlling hand, but might still be good enough. Since Dragon's Claw is definitely a big game in the matchup, since we're both red decks. It's going to be a turn 1 Swift Spear. We could get punished if our opponent has 2 1-mana instants to enable Prowess twice, and then Bolt no longer kills the Swift Spear. But it might be worth it to wait here. We'll see. Opponent's going to fetch. And it's going to be an Eidolon. So we can either kill the Swift Spear now, let the Eidolon stay in play, or we can kill the Eidolon, take one from Swiftspear and take 2 from the Eidolon trigger. Given the Manamorphose in hand, we probably just want to kill the Eidolon here. Even their opponent gets all the benefit from it now, and it doesn't deal them any damage. So let's kill Eidolon. And we do want to be mana efficient here since we want to tap out for Dragon's Claw. And then next turn we can go Manamorphose into more stuff, gain some life in the meantime. So Swiftspear gets in for 1. And the hope is that our opponent has just a bunch of burn spells instead of more creatures, since the creatures can deal damage more consistently, whereas burn spells are now reduced by 1 life essentially. And they've got a land, comes into play tapped. So they do have access to green mana, so they could potentially have a disenchant. Hollow One is not bad here since we can cast it thanks to the looting. So let's Manamorphose first for double red, in case we find a Phoenix. Fairy Temper's not bad either, so play a land, looting, draw 2, find another Dragon's Claw, not bad. So we want to discard Fairy Temper and probably a Goblin Lore. And then we can Madness, killing the Swiftspear. And then still cast a 1 mana Hollow One. Alright, not bad. And next turn we can go Dragon's Claw into Goblin Lore potentially. Alright, it's gonna be a Goblin Guide on defense. Let's play Dragon's Claw first. They might also be holding something like a Deflecting Palm, in which case we want to make sure to play the Dragon's Claw first. And yeah, her opponent's just going to concede to the second Dragon's Claw. Very difficult for a burn deck to beat, since now every burn spell only deals a single point of damage. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand is very ambitious. The Goblin Lord is going to have to make up for having 5 lands in her opener, which is going to be an uphill battle. So can we potentially keep this? If we Goblin Lore on 2, if we're lucky to discard a Phoenix, then we're maybe getting back a Phoenix on turn 3 in the best case scenario. Don't think that's good enough. Alright, this is much better. And hoping to find a land here. Flameblade Adept, I guess we're on the draw, so we do get to cast Adept on turn 1. It's a little bit greedy, since we do really need a second land. I think we do keep it on top. It's definitely greedy, since if we don't draw a land naturally, then we don't get to Madness of Fairy Temper. Opponent on turn 1, Fairy Miscreant, interesting. So opponent maybe on a Fairies deck. We could Gutshot Fairy Miscreant, don't have to do it now. Want to keep the Gutshot as a spell for Phoenix. So yeah, land on top next turn would be perfect, since then we can looting, Fairy Temper, Gutshot, get back Phoenix, while triggering the Adept a bunch of times. Another Fairy Miscreant. So we could Gutshot the first Fairy to prevent the card draw here, but I think it's too important to keep the Gutshot to trigger the Phoenix, so we'll let them have their card here. And no second land, alright. Let's draw. And another Phoenix. Let's go for it. Double Manamorphose, so sadly we won't be able to get back Phoenix this turn. But maybe next turn. Get in for 3. And then yeah, if we just find a second land, we'll easily be able to get back double Phoenix. So the Gutshot could potentially be used on one of their creatures, since now we have double Manamorphose. If we find a second land, we can just cast 2 Manamorphose plus another spell to get back Phoenix. But I think we can hold on to the Gutshot for now. Since now we potentially have the line of play of looting first. If we find a land, then we're still fine and can still get back Phoenix. So that's why keeping the Gutshot's important. So yeah, let's go for it. Opponent might also have a counterspell up at this point. And yeah, they're gonna remand our looting. So it's gonna set us back quite a bit. Alright, let's just get in for 1. So just waiting for a second land. And then we'll be able to start beating down Fairies, get in for 2. And a Mutavault. So we might as well Manamorphose, give us a better chance of finding more copies of Phoenix. And they're gonna Spellstutter Sprite to Manamorphose here, it's too bad. So yeah, our opponent's kind of tempoing us out here. Luckily their clock is not too fast. But if we just drew a land earlier, we could have had 2 copies of Arclight Phoenix attacking our opponent and they would have already been dead. So next turn we can try again with Manamorphose. Could also look into Gutshotting one of the opponent's fairies here, but I don't think it's worth it quite yet. Find a mountain. Let's Manamorphose again. Find a Street Wraith. Could potentially let us cast a free Hollow One after the looting, so I think it's still worth it. And we'll cycle first in case we draw into a Phoenix we want to discard with a looting. Also triggers the Adept. Find a Bolt. So let's looting. And alright, we can discard double Fiery Temper, which is pretty nice. Madness both. And I guess we'll take out the Miscreants, since those actually matter if they play more copies. Opponent's got a Sign of Una. Alright, that one we can kill with the Gutshot. So resolves, and then we'll Gutshot the Scion. Could also bolt it, but Gutshotting here means we still get to Fiery Temper as well. So the Miscreant dies, and we still get to Madness the other Fiery Temper. We could also just point it upstairs, since we're kind of on the burn plan here. Since we'll have 2 copies of Phoenix coming in, we've got a 4-powered Flameblade Adept. So yeah, I think going face might actually be okay. Get back double Phoenix. Attack for 10, put him to 2. And then we've got double Bolt to finish them off. So it's possible we should have also just pointed the first Fiery Temper at their face. But they still had mana up, and who knows, they could have had a counterspell or two to mess with our plan. But now it's pretty clear that we're going to go on the burn plan. So it's going to be difficult for the opponent to come back, and they scoop it up. Alright, so onto sideboarding against mono blue fairies. So Coast LLC turn is going to be quite good. And potentially we want to braid, although I'm not sure. Could be that we just want returns, and then what do we take out for those? Could see shaving some Goblin Lords, as they're pretty expensive and easy to counter. Could see taking out some Street Wraiths, since the life can matter in a tempo situation. Think I'll do one of each, just because I'm not sure. The Gutshots should be pretty good here. Don't think we can keep a Nodelander, we are on the draw. Let's say we do draw a single mountain, we can Burning Inquiry. Still doesn't get us very far, so let's go to 6. Alright, this hand's not great, but probably still a keep. Hope to find something like a looting to help us discard the Phoenix. Hollow One, don't have any discard effects, so the Hollow One would just stay in our hand until we do find one of those cards. But it is also a nice potential way of getting some pressure in play, especially if they have some graveyard hate for the Phoenix. Then we will need to find our Hollow Ones. But then we're still further away from finding an actual discard effect. So I think I'll bottom. We do have a Bolt and a Gutshot as removal in the meantime. As our opponent has another Miscreant. Fiery Temper. So the question is, do we kill the Miscreant right now, or do we let them untap? I think we can let them untap. That way if they play another Miscreant, we can kill the first one. They're just going to attack for 1. Yeah, I think I'll still take it for now. Opponent says go. Let's untap. Alright, found a Goblin Lore. Think we go for it. We can Manamorphose first, I guess. And if they try and spell Stutter Sprite, we can Gutshot Miscreant. Double red. So we probably want to Gutshot right now, so that if we do discard the Phoenix, we're guaranteed to get it back. And we don't risk discarding the Gutshot. Also makes it more likely that we discard the Phoenix, since we'll have one fewer card in hand. So I don't hate it. Kill the Miscreants, paying 2 life. And then we'll Goblin Lore. Hope to discard the Phoenix. We did. Perfect. So now we get our Phoenix back. Attack for 3. And our hand's not looking too bad. We have looting that can discard Temper with Madness. Double Bolt. But if the Phoenix gets dealt with, then we're lacking a bit of pressure. Alright, another Gutshot. So we're probably fine to cast a looting here, on the off chance that we find more copies of Arclight Phoenix. Opponent with a Spellstutter Sprite. We probably just want to Gutshot the Sprite in response to the trigger here, so the looting resolves. Seems fine to me. And I don't think paying 2 life is too relevant right now. So we'll draw 2, Manamorphose and land. So we probably just want to discard the Fiery Temper and the land. And then Madness a Fiery Temper to deal 3. and get in there with the Phoenix. Alright, so we have to rely on our bolts and our Phoenix to get there here. Opponent's got 4 mana, so who knows, they might have a cryptic command. Another Phoenix, we're pretty close to hardcasting it. I guess we'll Manamorphose first. If we draw into a land, we could cast a Phoenix. Opponent does have a cryptic command, bouncing our Phoenix and countering the Manamorphose. Yeah, that's too bad. Maybe we should have just attacked first. Alright, well, now we just need to draw more lands so we can cast a Phoenix. Or we could flashback Looting, discard both copies of Phoenix, and then we just need to string together some cheap spells to get them back. Found a mountain. So my guess just hardcasting a Phoenix is the plan here. Hope they don't have more cryptic commands. Alright, counter draw. So our opponent's pulling ahead here. I mean, I guess we're just casting another Phoenix. Might as well Street Wraith first in case we find something relevant. Fiery Temper. So we could consider flashback Looting. If we draw into a land, we can get back the Phoenix from the graveyard while madnessing a Fiery Temper and casting a Lightning Bolt. That might be worth it. Yeah, let's go for it. Alright, we found our land. So we want to be discarding the Phoenix and the Fiery Temper. And then we can madness the Fiery Temper. And then play our land, bolt the opponents. Could also cycle the other Street Wraith first. I guess a hollow one would be free if we draw one. Sure. Alright, just a land. Bolt our opponents, down to 5. Get Phoenix back. And our opponent was holding 2 lands there. Alright, sweet, so we managed to beat the mono blue fairies. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. And don't think we can keep a 0-lander. Let's go to 6. Alright, I mean, this hand needs a lot of help, but I guess we'll keep bottom the land for sure. And then we can Looting, discarding Phoenix. And probably just discard a land. And then we could cycle Street Wraith, that way if we draw into a hollow one we can cast it for free. Just a gut shot. Man, we were 1 spell away from getting back Phoenix on turn 1 here. If we had a second gut shot, we could have gotten back our Phoenix. So now we just need to find a 1 mana spell to get back Phoenix next turn. Opponent on Stomping Ground into Utopia Sprawl, so it could be some sort of a land destruction deck. Alright, we found a bolt. So let's just double bolt our opponent. Gut shot. Get back Phoenix. Put them to 7 on turn 2. Could be worse. And hope they can't answer the Phoenix in time. Kazakh Wolf Run, so opponent on a red-green rampy deck. And yeah, we don't really care about the land destruction at this point, since we don't need to cast anything else to win the game. And Blood Moon is not too effective against us. It's gonna be an Arbor Elf, would have been a nice target for the gut shot. Alright, let's get in for 3. So we could flashback a Looting, could also wait, since if we flashback Looting now and draw into a hollow one, we can't actually cast it since we only discarded 2 cards. While if we get to play land 4, we could potentially flashback Looting and cast a hollow one, but if we're up against a land destruction deck, we can't rely on our lands, so might as well. Could potentially draw into some more burn spells, which is good enough. Inquiry probably has more upside, but we're down to almost no cards in hand, so the Inquiry also loses a lot of value. I guess we'll discard Inquiry and just hold on to land number 4, in case we need to hardcast a Phoenix. So our opponent has 2 turns to answer the Phoenix. These decks usually don't play Lightning Bolt, but they might have some other creatures like Pia and Kira Nalar, Huntmaster of the Fells, which could definitely interact here. And yeah, there's Pia and Kieran. So the 2 Thopters can double block the Phoenix. And Hollow One, a little bit too late here. So I guess we'll cycle the Hollow One in case we can find another Gutshot or Lightning Bolt to take out a Thopter. Alright, there's a Lightning Bolt, so yeah, let's attack, and then if they double block Phoenix, we'll bolt one of the Thopters. It's probably fine. They are gonna double block. Let's bolt one of them. So our opponent has 2 more turns here to find an answer to the Phoenix. But at least we got Pia and Kiran out of the way. And they might be able to cast an Inferno Titan here, which would definitely deal with the Phoenix nicely. So in a way, it's kind of unfortunate that our opponent didn't have the turn 1 Arbor Elf, otherwise we would have been able to deal with it, and they would not have been able to generate this much mana. And it's just going to be a Molten Rain on our land, that's fine. Pia gets him for 2. So no answer for Phoenix yet. Or nope, just another copy of Pia and Kiran. Well, that's unfortunate, since usually they don't play many copies of it. Guess we'll start with a Manamorphose. Red, red. Try again. And a hollow one, which doesn't do much. Might as well cycle. And a Flameblade Adept, which we can cast at least. So I guess we do attack still. Double block. Play the Adept. It's also possible we should have just kept a Lightning Bolt to go upstairs, so that if we did draw another burn spell we could have killed our opponent if they didn't gain any life. But sometimes they do have cards like Huntmaster of the Fells, which can gain a bit of life. Nope, Bloodbraid Elf into a Tireless Tracker. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's gonna go up the ground nicely. And we'll have a hard time getting through now. Another Stone Rain on our land, so we won't be hard casting Phoenix anytime soon, so at this point our best out is just drawing 2 burn spells in a row. Opponent does respect the Flameblade Adept, so they only send in the Bloodbraid Elf, otherwise a Goblin Lore off the top could deal lethal. And yeah, there's a Lightning Bolt, so I guess we'll say go. Keep a bolt. That way both Gutshot and more bolts are lethal. Might have to chum block with the Adept here, we'll see. Alright, there's a Stormbreath Dragon, so are we just dead here, or can we survive? I guess we could technically survive. So their opponent's getting in for 12, so we will be forced to chum block. Alternatively, we could bolt one of their creatures, so we don't have to chum block with the Adept, and that way if we draw into either a Burning Inquiry or a Goblin Lore, we would have lethal. So this is where we have to counter outs. So we do have more Burning Inquiries and Goblin Lores in our deck than we do have Lightning Bolts and Gutshots, I believe, since we already used multiple Lightning Bolts and Gutshot. So I think it's actually to our advantage here to kill a creature, take 9 down to 2, and then hope to draw into one of those aforementioned cards. Let's kill the Tireless Tracker, I guess. Take the damage, down to 2. And looting, not quite good enough here. It's gonna be 3 damage total. But Fiery Temper, wow. Fiery Temper saves the day. Can Madness a Fiery Temper here to get the last points of damage in. I thought we were dead, but yeah, that was a pretty good top deck. Put them to 1. And the Adepts to get in the last points. As it turns out, both lines would have worked out since we would have discarded the Fiery Temper to Madness, so had we bolted their face down to 1, we still would have killed them. Alright, so against a land destruction deck, I don't think we change anything. Our deck is set up pretty well. Just want to be fast, get our stuff in play before they start killing our land. And we have Gutshot and Lightning Bolt to interact with their Arbor Elf. Alright, this hand has a lot of potential, but we're missing the land, sadly. So I don't think we can keep even on the draw. This one we will keep, and then just hope to find maybe a looting or maybe some lands. Hollow One, let's see, what does Hollow One do for us? I mean, it's probably good enough, since if we Goblin Lore and don't discard the Hollow One, then we could cast it for free. We do still need to find a second land as the issue, but I think we do want to be a little bit greedy here, since it has so much potential. So we can Flameblade Adept on turn 1. We have the Gutshot for any mana creature here, so that's important. Although that's gonna slow down the Phoenix, I guess, but I think we're still forced to Gutshot here. And then we'll keep the Street Wraith to pump the Adept and to make our Hollow One cheaper. So let's play the Adept. Gutshot the bird, since we don't want him to destroy our land here. And then just hope to draw into a land either with our draw step or the Cyclone Street Wraith. Opponent does also have Arbor Elf. Alright, moment of truth. Do we cycle into a land? We do not, just a Phoenix, sadly. Alright, now we're definitely in trouble. At least their opponent also missed a land drop, so they were relying on their mana creatures. So now we need to draw a land for Goblin Lore, so we can hopefully cast a free hollow one to start pressuring them. Opponent has 3 mana for Kitchen Finks, that's okay. And more Goblin Lores. Alright, let's get in for 1. So keeping the hollow one on top so far doesn't look great, as we would have been 1 card deeper into our deck. Tireless Tracker now. Alright, there's a land. Let's Goblin Lore and hope for the best. Alright, we discarded our hollow one sadly, and both copies of Phoenix still in hand. So not the best Goblin Lore there. But I guess we will still attack. And then next turn we can Goblin Lore again. Opponent does go for the double block, that's fine by me. So yeah, next turn we could decide to Goblin Lore again, try and get lucky with the Phoenix. And I guess we do also have a Manamorphose, so we're not too unlikely to be able to get back Phoenix if we discard it to the Goblin Lore. So you can lead with the Manamorphose either way. Find a Street Wraith. So we'll play the lands, and I think just cast a Goblin Lore right now before cycling Street Wraith. And then if we discard Fairy Temper, we can also Madness it, which would be pretty nice. So we're hoping to discard double Phoenix and Fairy Temper here, pretty much. Alright, 1 Phoenix got discarded. Also discarded the hollow one, which would have been nice too. And then I guess by casting the Looting, we can get back a 2nd Phoenix as well, which is still pretty good here. So we'll discard Phoenix and a land. Get back double Phoenix. And now the question is, do we stay on defense or do we put them down to 13? We'll be taking at least 6 down to 4. Yeah, we're probably just better off playing defense with the Phoenix. We could potentially get in with one of them and the other can trade for the Tireless Tracker. That might be okay, since letting them hit their land drops is not going to be great either for us. So we do want to pressure them a little bit. Alright, so we'll just split the difference. Opponent does have a fetch land here, which is bad news, since now the tracker can generate 2 clue tokens. We can potentially get back another Phoenix next turn, as our opponent has a Bloodbraid Elf with a Molten Rain. Alright, at least we don't take any damage from it. So we just want to trade for the Tireless Tracker if they attack here. Want to start with our Looting, discard Fairy Temper Madness, and then hope to maybe draw into another Phoenix and go from there. I guess we'll play a land first in case we draw another Fairy Temper. Alright, just 2 lands. It's not gonna cut it here. So we can Fairy Temper with Madness. I mean, I guess we can just kill the Bloodbraid Elf. Opponent also has Kessig Wolfrun, which is pretty relevant here. And then we need to Gutshot as our 3rd spell. Could have also pointed the Fairy Temper at the Sphinx and then finished off the Sphinx with a Gutshot, but then they would have also gained a bit of life in the meantime. So we'll get back 1 Phoenix. So yeah, we have to keep at least 1 Phoenix back, but I will attack with 1 of them. So yeah, I don't think we'll be winning this game. But we still put up a pretty good fight. Maybe had we found our 2nd land for Goblin Lore earlier, we could have applied a bit more pressure. And the random discards could have also gone a bit better. Sphinx attacks, might as well block, but I don't think it matters at this point. Find a Lightning Bolt so we can flash back a Looting. And find Manamorphose, so we'll be able to get back Phoenix here. So we'll just have to sit back and then block with the Phoenix and then bolt another Sphinx. So we're kind of hoping they activate the Kessig Wolfrun here. I guess we will still block the smaller one. They might go for lethal with the Kessig Wolfrun, and then we can bolt the Sphinx. Alright, let's bolt it. So your opponent will be left with a 2-1 Sphinx, but they are still at a pretty high life total here, with 2 clues in play, so they're definitely favored to going late. Gut shots, so it's Manamorphose. Red, red. Alright, more Manamorphose, so we will be able to get back Phoenix here. Red, red. And then we can either flashback another looting, or we can just gut shot paying 1 mana to kill the Finks. I think we gut shots paying 1 mana, since I don't really want to pay 2 life necessarily. Otherwise a Bloodbred Elf is lethal by herself. So let's just kill the Kitchen Finks. And then get back double Phoenix. Who knows, we might be doing it here after all. Opponent sacks a clue. Sacks another clue, so they're not doing anything here, and we're getting in for 6. And a Bolts, alright, I mean... I guess we'll flash back a looting now. And Burning Inquiry Bolts, so discard land, Burning Inquiry. Attack for 6. And double bolt to finish them off. Wow, what a comeback. Definitely did not think we were winning this game. Bolts, bolts. And yeah, Arclight Phoenix just coming back from the graveyard a couple of times. A few lucky top decks with a Chain of Manamorphose, and we got there. Oof, wow, what a game. Alright, sweet, I wanna thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay. And as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for being part of the channel, and you can become a patron yourself today and decide the topic of future videos over at patreon.com/LegenVD.